Welcome to the Florida Real Estate and Entrepreneur Podcast, where we interview the best and the brightest business and real estate leaders. Our mission is to inspire and help 1,000 entrepreneurs to start and succeed in real estate and entrepreneurship. We will give you the exact playbook to succeed in your business through the experience of those who blaze the path. We're bringing the what's working today directly to you. Let's get started. Welcome back to the Florida Real Estate and Entrepreneur Podcast. My guest today, friend of mine and now business partner, Amanda Sizemore. Amanda, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you because you and I are doing a deal right now, and I love doing deals. I'm a deal junkie. I'm going to give a quick overview of your background, and then, you just give us like the 3-minute fill-in on that. So Amanda is a lifetime entrepreneur who turned into an M&A expert who is brokering businesses, and then she sees this really cool title company and decides to buy it and scale it through acquisitions and other means, which led Amanda and I together. Because in 2023, I started a title company, totally bootstrapped, not knowing anything other than I wanted to control that aspect of my investment business. And we scaled it to about $300,000 in revenue in our first full year. So it's 250 to 300,000. And what I realized was I was missing an operational component to it. So I needed to do something else to grow the title company. And what I needed was a strategic partner who had the operational chops, know-how, and existing infrastructure to do that, which led Amanda and I to doing a merger of our title companies. And that's actually happening today. The day of recording is the official day that we're doing the merger. So how serendipitous is this? So cool. I'm excited. And Amanda's going to come on today and talk about her background and why title companies, why you need to have a great partner in your title company. So Amanda, fill in the blanks of your story. How did you start in, business? And then how did you get to where you are today for those pieces that I might have missed?
Sure. All right. Well, strap in because it's a ride. It's a story. I actually was a professional dancer, which a lot of people don't know. I was a professional dancer. And when I was 22, I decided to open my own children's dance studio. And it was my first kind of step into being an entrepreneur and a business owner. There were a lot of hard lessons learned. I ended up selling that company, and it was my first taste of meeting an M&A advisor, a business broker. It was a small business at the time. I worked with a business broker, and I was addicted to owning my own company. I have always said I'm not a great employee. I'm a great owner, though. I'm a great teacher and leader, and I'm constantly working on being a better follower, but I love to lead. And most people that work with me, and everyone that I know of, really loves that dynamic as well. And fast forward, the dance studio, it wasn't a raving success. I loved it. It was a labor of love, much more than, some huge money-making machine, but I did sell it, and I moved into real estate and began investing myself, worked with many investors who do similar things to what you specialize in and are so great at, and really got my feet wet with investing. And then from there, it just kind of snowballed. I got the chance to work on some big commercial deals, some Class A buildings, and really kind of honed my skills in real estate investing. Got licensed in several states. I'm licensed in Nevada, California, Florida. And really through that learned how important your title company is, because they can make or break a deal. And if all is going well, then you actually barely know that they're there. And if it's not going well, you are very aware that this is the largest obstacle in your way between buying or selling a property on either side. It can be this giant roadblock with a no. And you and I both share this, that we hate no's. So I became fascinated with this idea of how can one seemingly small part of the process hold up an entire deal, delay it? How do you get control of that? And it was always something that I worked with in real estate. You have to work with title companies. You try and make partnerships and friends with your escrow officers or your closers because you really want them to be in communication with you. And it was just kind of always in the back of my mind that it's this relationship that you have to cultivate with your closer to make sure your deals are on track. Are they telling you ahead of time that there's things that are coming up on the commitment? And when I first started, I didn't know if someone handed me a title search or a title commitment, what it meant when things were on there. I think a lot of people in real estate don't. They rely on their title agents and say, hey, is it good or, or no? So, yeah, I learned a lot through that process. It was always kind of there in the back of my mind. And through working more in commercial real estate, I began shifting more from residential into commercial and business brokerage, because a lot of times when you sell commercial real estate, there's a business that needs to go somewhere. So what do? It's completely different. In Florida, you do need to be a licensed agent. You need a real estate license, but it is such a beast all on its own. You have to be very good at reading tax returns, understanding add backs, EBITDA and SDE calculations. I love math. I always thought I was bad at math, but
money math though.
I
Money
do.
math
It's a different kind of math.
Yeah, I love money math too, but don't ask me to like do division or derivatives or weird stuff like that.
Exactly. I always struggled. And then I realized, like you said, when it came to money math, I was very good at it. And it's a great skill that I use all the time to help people figure out how to streamline their businesses, scale their businesses, how to prepare to sell. It's really important that they understand the numbers and how much your bottom line affects what you're going to sell for. So anyway, I've been doing that for about the past 4 years, really focusing on M&A, and came across a title company that was a really great opportunity. We still work with, absolutely adore the sellers, which is really important. They've owned American National Title is the company that I bought, and they've been in business in Florida for, I think they're coming up on 26 years. So long time business. Everything that I preach to people who want to buy businesses to look for, you want to find something that's been around a long time and has staying power. There's something called the Lindy effect, that the longer that something has been around, the higher the likelihood that it will stay. And once you get over that 10-year mark, it's very high probability that it's going to continue to be successful. Also, they were behind the times as far as social media. They had no branding. I love that too. Same thing that I tell everyone, find something with an easy way to scale, an easy add-on that's missing. If you buy the perfect business, where do you go from there? Unless you have some magical skill set, which I'm good, but I'm not that good. I don't have any more magical skill sets than the next person. But the business, just hard work. Yeah, just hard work. I'm willing to just get in there and do the work. But yeah, so bought that company, met you, and we had a really funny conversation about owning a title company and the logistics of it. We really own a logistics company. I think a lot of people don't know that. I say we are the wedding coordinators of real estate. We're like, oh God, cut that guy off at the bar, and where's the bride? And we're getting everybody together. The music's starting. Are we ready? Is everyone seated? It kind of feels like that for each deal. There's so many moving parts, a lot of different personalities. And then there's the whole math aspect as well, because we're escrow as well. So it's a fascinating business. Love that I've had so much experience dealing with it from the investor side. Title agents typically don't get it. If there's a holdup, they think, what's the big deal? But I know how much time kills all deals, and speed. And I don't want any holdups, because it can absolutely just blow up an entire deal a day. You don't know what could happen. So it's really nice having control.
I think there's a really couple interesting things to pull out of that. You have a unique background in M&A, so you identified this opportunity with this title company. Now, well, I explain this to people all the time, because like, I'm not necessarily a title guy. I'm a business guy and a real estate investor primarily. So when people, somebody will say something to me like, well, like, like, what are your fees? And I'm like, let's talk about title companies and how they make money and how much money they actually make. Because when you think title fees, I think as an investor or even as an agent or a buyer or seller of a normal transaction on a house, you're thinking of your closing costs, right? And only a small fraction of that closing cost is really going to title. And I would say on average, a title company is grossing between $1,600 and $2,600 on a file. So think about that, like only a couple grand on a file. But what you don't see is all the work that goes into coordinating that wedding that Amanda's talking about. And then here's the kicker for investors. The investor's job is to buy an asset as low as possible. Well, the cheaper the asset, the less money the title company makes. So investor files make the least money, and they're 10 times the amount of work, because the investors want to close. And I'm this guy. Like, I want to close in like yesterday. Like, can we close yesterday? So I'm putting you on an unrealistic timeline most of the time, not to mention when my section B or whatever comes back on the title commitment, it's going to be littered with all kinds of problems that the title team is going to have to go to the underwriter and overcome each one and make sure we got all the legal stuff in place. And then eventually we can close that property. And it's like 7 consecutive miracles to get all of these deals done. And also the buyer and seller on investor transactions are often an emotional mess, especially when you're talking about assignments with wholesalers to the end buyer flipper. You're dealing with kind of unique personalities. So you got to be a psychologist. You got to be a logistics person. You got to be a project manager. Like you really are coordinating, and it can be a mess. So the takeaway here is the reason that when you call around and go, hey, I'm an investor, and title companies go, yeah, we don't really do that. It's because it's 10 times the work for less money. So when you get a good investor title company like American National Title, who we now merged with and adopted their name, like, that is gold. That is absolute gold. And I think you've got to really understand the back end of that to really know what you have. And I'll say this too, what I've learned, Amanda, maybe you can, talk to this a little bit, is like, there's a lot going on. And like Amanda said, like, the best title company, you have no idea. Like, are we like, is this good? Like, are we good to go close or whatever? And you may not know there's like a million things happening in the background. But the most important part of a title company, in my opinion, is the communication. Because in today's day and age, we want rapidity of information. We want updates. We don't want a lot of long, drawn out stuff. We just want the bullets along the way. So like American National Title have like very good systems and processes. Like, you're being updated along the way. You know when things are moving. You're not just wondering if they're moving. And customer service is just critical. So in your experience, I want to go down 3 tracks specifically to talk title. In your experience, what specifically do you do at A&T to help real estate investors close deals faster and with fewer issues? Like, what are some of those things that come to your mind when we talk about that?
Well, I think, to your point, there's a lot of title companies out there who don't even want to touch investor files. The lift is heavy on some of these files. Like you said, it's oftentimes way more work for less dollars at the end of the day for the title company. But I think where we really shine is, I understand, and our closers understand in depth the investor contract and the mentality of where each person is in the deal. We know that the investors want speed. Oftentimes the sellers, there may be a little hesitancy there. So how can we help kind of bridge the gap on the timeline? But the most important thing, I think, is understanding these contracts. I mean, sometimes they get assigned several times, and being very sensitive to, I'm sure you've had this happen, where we're being very sensitive to each person getting their own closing statements. There's oftentimes can be some friction there for assignment fees and stuff like that. So we're very, very conscious of the communication to all sides, being clear, and also being sensitive to where each person is coming from. Very delicate.
You say the wrong thing, you could blow a deal up. I want to just camp on that for 1 second, because I run and own part of the biggest real estate investor mastermind in the country. Most elite investors doing hundreds of deals a year, called 7-figure flipping. And when the conversations happening amongst the investors in the community are like, hey, I need a new title company, or I need a vet investor friendly title company. What do we ask them? We say, will you do blind HUDs? It's basically HUD, Alta, closing statement, all interchangeable, how we're using that. Which means, am I separating the closing statement? The seller is seeing the seller side and the buyer is seeing the buying side. Okay. So that keeps the seller just with the information that they need, just what they need, nothing more, nothing less. And it keeps it copacetic at the closing table. The second question that investors will ask is, will you double close with buyer's funds? And the reason an investor would ask that is because they could have a new buyer who might see maybe a big assignment fee and freak out at the closing table, even though it should be a non-factor. And double closing with buyer's funds, they would pay a little more to do that. But that would just show a really clean closing statement to the end buyer with no assignment fees. We don't have to worry about that blowing the deal up at the closing table, because nobody wants the deal blown up, to include title. Because if the deal blows up, we also don't get paid. We want everybody to be happy. We want everything to be legal. We want everything to be ethical. We want it all just to go so well. And it's, like I said, 7 consecutive miracles. So those are like the 2 primary points of conversation. And then the third point would be, do you do creative finance deals, which is a whole can of worms, because that could be anything from subject to the existing mortgage, lease options, wraps. I mean, there's a myriad of different strategies to structure deals in creative finance. That's why they call it creative. So those are the 3 main ones: blind HUDs, closing with buyer's funds, and do you do creative finance deals? So with that said, can you talk about what American National Title does for those 3 things?
Yeah, definitely. Blind HUDs we do as a practice, regardless of if the deal is more of a traditional, there's agents, and this is not an investor file, it could be a first-time home buyer. We do blind HUDs just as a practice so that we don't accidentally get ourselves in a situation, because we handle a lot of investor files. The second question was double closing. We double close a lot, and it's not a problem. We are very familiar with it, as well as creative financing is almost always involved in our investor files. I would say probably 3 out of 4 times there's some type of a creative financing happening there, whether it's a wrap or some subject twos, a lot of different kinds of loans coming in with holdbacks and gap funding, and lots of wires flying in from different parties. So yeah, we are very familiar with and really specialize in investor deals.
Yeah, that's really, really important that the title company not just says they'll do it, but understands how to do it. Let me ask you this about that, because even though I personally know you guys can get all these deals done, there's still mechanics to this there's still things that you as a title company are going to do to protect these investor clients. And there's a way that, people need to engage with attorneys. There's an order of operations that things need to happen in for us to keep it all legal and ethical, but still get it done in an efficient and fast way. So what tips would you give people, say maybe around a subject to deal or some kind of creative finance deal? How should they engage you as a title company to get that done in the right way?
Well, I would say this, first of all, it's a line that we always have to walk, that we are doing things legally. And I know that a lot of times we're aware that there's speed involved. We are, I believe, one of the quickest title companies in the area. We oftentimes close deals early, or we're ready to close deals early. But I think as far as engagement, it's really important that everybody come to, I'm going to use the subject to just for an example, that everybody come to the table aware of the deal that they're getting into. That would be my advice for everybody, is educate yourself, follow people like you, Adam, people who are very experienced, so that you understand the deal. And once everybody has an understanding of it, we can get it done. It's something that I think is important from the title's perspective on any deal, that buyers and sellers have to be aware of the type of deal that they're agreeing to between the parties. I think also, as far as an attorney, we do have in-house legal. We also have an attorney practice that runs kind of parallel to the title company. So we have that option. And if somebody needs some type of legal consultation or they need docs, we do have attorneys that we work with regularly that specialize in investor deals, mortgages, promissory notes, all sorts of things that you really need in order to get your deal done. But they do need to be engaged by the client. So attorneys never reach out to clients. Clients always need to engage attorneys. And I don't know if that answers your question.
No, that's absolutely perfect. I think the takeaway here is, when it's me and I've got my sets of docs that I've had attorneys build for me over the years and paid for those. And even let's say I get a new investor in my community and I'm teaching them and they're learning and they got the docs, but they don't really understand the deal. What I would tell them to do is go engage before you ever have the deal that you're hunting. Go engage the title company, go engage the attorney, and make sure you understand what their needs are in order to effectively close the deal with them. So what are their expectations of you and what are your expectations of them? That will allow you to get clarity as you go in and structure your deal and then bring it to the title company in the right way. If you get the deal and it's a mess and your paperwork's a mess and you take that mess to the title company, I don't care how good the title company is, you're going to have a harder time closing that deal. And I see this a lot when we have investors who are investing out of state. They understand their state, but they don't understand Florida, or they don't understand Georgia or Nevada or whatever. You need to understand the title company in the state you're investing in, because each state has a different set of laws and rules around all kinds of stuff. So really important thing. Okay. Last thing about title that I want to ask you is if you could share an example of a challenging investment transaction that your team solved creatively, something another title company might not have been able to do.
Sure. Yeah. We had one recently where, I don't know if you're familiar with a ladybird deed. Have you heard of these? They're very popular here in Florida in particular. But it's an enhanced life estate deed. A lot of people call them ladybird deeds. We had a contract come in, and basically the seller was not the seller. They could not sell the property. What happened was we had a husband and wife, and the husband had a life estate deed, a ladybird deed done with his wife. And she then quitclaim deeded her interest to her son. And the son was the person who was on the contract as the seller. because she became POA of her husband. And a lot of people don't understand how these ladybird deeds work, but you are transferring only a remainderment interest, which means the person who is giving the remainderment or the interest to somebody cannot still be alive and have the interest transfer. Ladybird deeds are great because people oftentimes, while they're alive, they want to be able to still decide whether they sell or rent or whatever they do with the property. So they still get to keep that power. But once they pass away, right away, the interest goes to whoever they granted that to. So we had to then help them figure out and go back through the chain of title. And there were some other quick claim deeds. Also, you guys, this is my number one to anybody. Don't do your own quick claim deeds. Just have a title company do your quick claim deeds, because it gets very complicated to go back through. They're oftentimes not done correctly. But anyway, we basically helped the parties understand how the deal could be saved, who would be able to sell it. And, we just said, hey, if you guys want to get this deal done, this is who would need to be the seller. This is how we would need to create these corrective deeds for these other quick claim deeds that were done and clean this all up. I think another title company would have seen it and said, well, that's not the seller. We can't do it, and not offer any other solutions. And we were actually, it pushed their closing back a tiny bit, but to be fair, this was a very tight closing period. And I think from the time that we had figured out what was going on with the chain of title, we were able to close it 4 days later.
That's incredible. This is the type of stuff that will make the difference in an investing company being profitable and not profitable. Like if you have 4 or 5 of these deals a month that you can't get closed because your title company doesn't understand how to solve problems, like that's a meaningful amount of revenue for your company. And by the way, you probably spent either time or marketing dollars acquiring that contract, and now you're just flushing that money down the drain. So I can't express enough how important it is to have a competent title company who is focused on being a problem solver. And Amanda and I talk about this all the time. It's not no, it's how can we do it? Like, because you might take something to the title company and it's like, we can't do that, but we can do it like this. Right. And that's the kind of like, if I'm talking to a title company, that's the language I personally want to hear, is because I'm crazy. Like I'm trying to do all kinds of weird stuff. And title companies are like, I don't know. And I'm like, okay, well, tell me how we can do it. And then I just go back and make sure that I do it the legal and ethical way per what the title company and the attorneys are saying. So that's really cool. Amanda, thank you so much for spending time with me today. I'm so excited to consummate this deal today. And the best investor-friendly title company in Florida just got even better as we've combined our teams. So if you're in Florida and you're a realtor, you're a real estate investor, you're a real estate, you're a mortgage broker, or even you're just you're just selling your house and you want to choose a title company you know will take care of you, you need to reach out to us at American National Title. We are here to serve you. Amanda, where can people reach out to us or submit files to us or even just talk to our team about their situation?
Sure, absolutely. Well, you can always call the office, 727-545-2400. Also, you can submit orders to orders@americantitleins.com. We're available. Someone is always in office 9 to 5, but I am oftentimes, and so are our closers, checking our inboxes after hours regularly. So we know that people want an answer very quickly, and we really, I think, go above and beyond what most title companies do for their clients and their customers. And I think that's what's kept this company so successful and is going to get even better.
Yeah, I'm super excited. And just for those of you listening, American National Title can close deals anywhere in the state of Florida. So while you might say, well, I can't go to their office in St. Pete or their office in Tampa or up in the Panhandle, doesn't matter. We have it's 2025. We have, remote online notaries. We have mobile notaries. People will come close in the convenience of your living room and make it so easy for you. So if you're anywhere in the state of Florida, you want to reach out to American National Title to help service your files. Reach out, at least start the conversation. And if you already have a good title company, let me tell you from experience, you need a backup. You do need a backup because the title agent that you love there could leave and then they don't do the same thing. So it's worth at least calling to start the conversation, to get familiar with the processes and be, just ready to submit your file. So yes, reach out. American National Title, best investor-friendly title company in the state of Florida. Would love to work with you guys. Amanda, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thanks for having me. It's been amazing. I'm so excited.
See ya.